Okay, good morning. It's a very wet day today, wet and rainy, so I'm just going to do a quick video. This wasn't a planned video. This has only just come up because it seems to be a question popping up again and again in the last 2-3 weeks. A lot of people are asking about it, so I thought I'm getting sick and tired of typing the same response, so I thought I'd just try and do a very quick video to give you my thoughts on this topic, which is about the idea of using full frame lenses on crop bodies. Now on the surface it feels as though there shouldn't be any problems with that at all, right? It's the other way around. It's when you're using crop lenses on full frame bodies, you might get some severe vignetting and things like that. That's not really the point here. The point that this is the other way around. This is about using full frame lenses on crop bodies, and why I think it's not really a great idea. I mean, it's a bit controversial because there's lots of people that love Fuji, the camera I'm recording this on, and they use vintage lenses from the 1960s and 70s and things like that, and they're using it on a crop body. And they do get beautiful shots, don't get me wrong, but there is, I think they are missing a big part of the message of those lenses because they're meant for 35mm film, and on crop you're just not getting the full artistic value of those kind of charming lenses. I mean, they do get around a little bit by using speed boosters and things like that to change the perspective a little bit, but it's still never as good as just using on a full frame body. In this video, I'm gonna use the Pentax FA limited lenses because they've got autofocus, and I could just use a wireless trigger and use face detection to just try and kind of demonstrate my point. I used me yesterday in the garden as a point of interest for these shots, because I think quite often we're using these classical lenses for portrait work and things like that. I could have shot a bottle on the wall or something and been a little bit more critical with my distancing and spacing to get things just right, but I don't think we need to go that much into it. So what I'll do is let's just bring up Lightroom here. Who's that gorgeous fella, eh? Wow, what a specimen. So what I want to do is really just kind of like, these are just straight out of camera. What I wanted to illustrate is just, this is the FA31 on the K1 in full frame mode. Okay, so it says it down here. And what I'm just trying to indicate here is this kind of natural vignetting that the lens has natively anyway. You're just not really gonna, if once you go crop in, you miss out on all that lovely edge goodness. And that is really, that's the end of the video, the end. I mean, really though, I think they give very different vibes and looks. So this shot here, this is kind of, I've just done a really quick rough edit to show you. Go into survey mode, so you can see there, like maybe some, I can punch me out the scene a little bit more, make my clothes a little bit crispier and things like that. But the vignette's still there. It looks more severe on the edit. I haven't increased it at all. It's just playing around with the tone curves, pushes it out more. But as you can see, going back to this one here, I actually feel like moving back's a little bit easier to see. It's all to do with that transition from the in focus all the way to the out of focus. So all of the, to get all of that tells a story. And I think the FA31 is a pretty good lens for an environmental shot full body. It's pretty good for that kind of usage. But of course, you can go in close with it. It's good for that too. So here is, let's go back into survey mode. So when I started doing this test yesterday in my garden, this shot here on the left is with the K3 Mark III. And it's obviously a crop sensor, same lens, same position of the tripod, and this is the difference you get. Now I soon realized that, I mean, there's a different colors and stuff, and color profile doesn't look the same because different cameras are set up a bit different, but ignore that fact. But I soon realized that, I didn't actually need to mess around and do that for every single shot because the K1 has a crop mode built in and I could just use that. So, and that's exactly what I did. So if we can analyze this shot and this shot together. So this is the K1 in the crop mode, and this is on the K3. You can tell the perspectives are almost virtually the same. The tires, it's a little bit different here, but that's just because the camera height of the body is a little bit different when it's sitting in a tripod and so on and so forth. So I stopped doing that. I stopped using any comparison between the K3. I just did it in K1 only. So just going back here. So this is this is an actual crop. Okay, so this image, these are two exact same images. You can tell my arm positioning here is the same. This is the crop of this shot, and this is actually just going to show you what crop mode would do. And if you don't believe me, here it is. And this is the K1 in crop mode, and they are virtually identical. Different. You can tell my arm's a little bit different here. So these are different shots, as you can see, but the same thing. So what we have here is just a very different story. So this is the K1 full frame mode on the left with the FA31, crop mode on the right with the FA31, and same position of tripod. Obviously I'm cutting off at the knees and doing all those terrible things that you should never do. But the point is this: you're missing the picture. I mean, the difference between the depth of bokeh is the same. Okay, so like that's no different here between my perspective, because I've kept the tripod in the same place. I haven't adjusted for it and corrected for it. So this is no more out of focus or more stopped down compared to me in this shot. It's exactly the same. It's just the overall impact of the image. It's because it's missing all of this kind of vignette around the outside. It's just telling a vastly different story, and you're going to see that more and more with sort of Takuma lenses and vintage lenses when they're used on a crop sensor. It's like this is what the engineers designed for. This is the impact that they were looking for when they developed the lens, and you're just not really getting that when you use it on crop body. Bear in mind that these lenses, they're old. I mean, this one's a 1990 lens. It's not that old, but well, I guess it is. It's like 30 years old now. It's almost, the FA limiteds are kind of interesting because they're almost like the last version of kind of classic manual focus lenses with the addition of autofocus before it became non-cool to do this anymore. And so everything started to try and strive for clinical perfection across the frame. But I think it's kind of interesting to remember though that in those days post-processing was limited. So to have lenses that gave this kind of soft vignetting wide open, it was actually quite often a wanted effect in the image, and you didn't have to do anything, to further enhance that. So I think that's kind of an interesting, point to sort of make here. When you go on crop, you lose that, you just lose that kind of natural. And it might be that if you bought a crop lens equivalent for your crop body, it's got some vignette built into it. That's been taken into account. So again, it's just another one of those reasons. But I feel as though you're just throwing away so much money, because full frame lenses typically are more expensive than crop lenses. You're not seeing the actual intended design that the people who made the lenses wanted when you put them on a crop body. You're literally throwing money away. You're not seeing really what the lens is intended to be seen, and that's the big takeaway message. It's all about that kind of graduation from in focus to out of focus, and you need that scale. You need to go from here all the way out to the edges. It's important. These soft edges, people might go, soft edges. Actually, we need them for this kind of rendering. It's important. And in here, it just kind of stops. It just hits. It goes so far, and it just kind of goes no more. So that would be the real. I'm just looking at my notes here. That would be the real sort of takeaway message. Yeah. Is that now when you start adjusting for perspective, let's just go down and have a look at FA43 now. So these two shots side by side, this is full frame mode, FA43, and this is the same position again on crop. So we've got the same sort of problem again. We're losing the impact of the image, that kind of in focus all the way to the out of focus. The story's been told less. Now there's no difference on this again between the bokeh, because I haven't adjusted the perspective of where the tripod is sitting. So this is just the same out of focus to me as it is on this image here. It's just about that overall impact. It's just lost when you throw it on a crop body. You just might get more of a kind of natural vignette and a different vibe if you actually just sort out a proper crop lens. This shot over here is full frame again. Looks a bit dimmer, doesn't it? Looks like I need to adjust the exposure for this. There we go. Don't know why that's 47. We'll just make this one 47 too. These two here, let's go back to survey mode. This one I did adjust the perspective. So full frame on this side, crop on the crop mode on the other. I've tried to just keep this post roughly about the sort of same place, but again, you can kind of look even when you, so this bokeh is a little bit more out of focus compared to me to here that has a lot more stop down, and that's what you're going to see a lot on YouTube videos when you go Googling for the kind of full frame versus crop, which one is better kind of crap videos. You'll see that a lot. I don't care so much about that kind of stuff. Really, the intent of this video is more to just kind of compare how the lenses were intended to be used and how you're not quite getting that message when you go and crop. Just lastly here, FA77 here, and again, this is on crop mode. I've changed the perspective, so I've shifted the tripod on crop mode for here. This is crop mode here. Again, trying to keep the post roughly about the same place. I'm a little bit different perspective, but you get the idea. But on crop mode, obviously, this bokeh is not as much out of focus as it is over here. So, you know, a different kind of vibe. When you even try and match perspective, it's not the same thing. But that's not really what this video is all about. I'm more just about this kind of, this idea of this image here. This is how the FA77 was intended. This is, you know, all this, it almost swirls. You can see it's almost got a peaceful almost swirl going on. And when you go on crop mode, you're just losing so much of that. I think you can see it all quite clearly on this one here. You can start to see it feels like there's almost a slight swirl going on. And when you go to crop, it's gone. You can maybe start to see a little bit here, but you're missing a lot of that lovely rendering. And then just two shots here. Headshots closer in with the FA77. This one here is we shot f2.8 for this shot, and this is full frame over here. You know, the bokeh here is a little bit more stop down, as you can tell on the crop mode version of it. Okay, they're still really nice, you know, portraits for the crop mode. It's not like it's bad, but you are getting a very different message. Now, if you have room to spare, if I took this crop mode at 1.8, which I should have, but I'm a really lazy YouTuber, then you would have seen the bokeh would have been equal to the bokeh on this side. So if you've got bokeh to spare, then it's fine. I feel as though, and that's why I've actually ended up going for Fuji, because they've got a lot of fast lenses. They've got this lens I'm recording this video on right now is 16:1.4. So 16:1.4 is rendering like 24 f2 on full frame. That's really good. So from a depth perspective, I feel as though Fuji do quite good with a lot of their lenses to get that crop. So if you've got aperture to spare, for example, if you did I think Fuji do 32 or 33 mil f0.95, which comes out to a equivalent of a full frame 50 f1.4. That's pretty cool. They if you were to shoot you know, crop mode f1.4, you're going to get a full frame field of view equivalent to f2, which is not too bad at all. If you are shooting at f2.8 on a crop, you're going to get equivalent to a kind of f4 type vibe on full frame. So that's why I think if you do go with crop lenses, fast apertures do really help if you're trying to get a full frame sort of vibe going on. But really, yeah, I did want to keep this as a quick video. Here's just for anybody interested, here's the three amigos on the same perspective of the tripod. Okay, so here they have I'll just yeah, here there's tripods in the same position, FA31 over here, FA43 and FA77. So that's just the kind of difference of field of view that you get when in the same position from subject to the tripod with those three lenses. Just thought that might be interesting for some people to see as well. But really, yeah, the end story of this is when you put these full frame lenses, and it could be a vintage, it could be these lenses, it could be whatever. When you do put them on crop, it feels as though you're just throwing money down the drain, because you're just not seeing things as they were clearly meant to be seen. And they're usually expensive lenses. I mean, this lens up here, it's $1,500. That's not cheap. It's really not. So obviously, though, you know, if you are planning to go full frame, by all means, you know, you use it. I at one point had a full frame Pentax camera and a crop Pentax camera, and I used my full frame lenses on the crop all the time because I had them anyway. It's just, yeah, my advice is just have a look at what is around for your crop sensor, because that lens has been designed for that body, and you're likely to get probably better results, to be honest. in terms of overall impact and rendering of the image. I mean, I know that, for example, the FA77 down here is a very sharp lens. It may be sharper than the DA70, but it's also quite a bit more expensive, I think. You can maybe get an overall impact that's really quite pleasing if you actually sort that lens out for your own crop sensor. And just quickly, lastly, before we finish, and just to go on the other side of the coin, when you use crop lenses on full frame, some do seem to be semi-compatible. But just a word of warning, if we can pretend that this shot here, this FA31 shot here, if we pretend that that is a crop lens on a full frame body, you might be able to clear up the vignetting and things like that, so it's not impacted too much. But just be careful when you do start pushing and processing files. You may find that the corners and edging do start to fall apart quite quickly compared to other elements in the frame, because basically these are elements of the frame those engineers never gave a stuff about when making the lens. So for lots of different genres where the edging is just kind of supporting the main focus, it's fine. But if you're going to do something like architectural or interior, something where, you know, edge to edge of the frame, corner to corner is really important, IQ and how that holds up, I probably wouldn't mess around with crop lenses on full frame bodies and try and get away with it. Yeah. So basically, moral of the story is seek out the right lens for the right body. The end. All right, I hope that was helpful for some anyway, but that's just my thoughts on that subject. It's why I haven't bothered really, although I have these lenses, these FA limited lenses and some nice vintage glass, I haven't really bothered to get an adapter for my Fuji for these lenses yet, just because I know from my experience I'm not going to get really what the intended look is, and as long as I've got the K1, which is a full frame camera, I'll just use these lenses on a full frame sensor. All right, thank you very much for watching. Cheers for now, bye.